What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to another video. It is your boy Coach Kai coming at you again with another banger, giving y'all some more gaming value as always. If you are new here, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, turn those post notifications on so you never miss a new video. Let's get into today's topic. So today, as you can see by the title, we're going to be talking about how to avoid procrastination. Okay, so this is a really good topic I wanted to cover because I felt like, I could relate to this, scenario a lot. Even to this day, I'm not as bad as I used to, but I know it's something that I used to struggle with a lot, and I know some of y'all might be going through the same thing. So, we just going to be sharing that value and the things that helped me along the journey of, procrastination. So first one, we're going to be talking about break up task, right? So a lot of us, and a lot of times in my life anyway, I know a lot of times I would be thinking about a million things at once, right? So something that has helped me along the way is breaking up the little things, to get to the main goal, right? So, that can just be with business, fitness, finances, anything like that, right? So, any type of goals that you have, don't be so quick to, be thinking about 3 things at once, right? It's baby steps, fellas. So you got to always understand, you can't get past one point if you don't, have the mindset of, one by one. So if you got all these things you thinking about 4 or 5 different things at once, how are you supposed to get past that one step, right? And then eventually, you're going to start, stressing and getting depressed because you can't even get past that one because you're thinking about 3 and 4 other different things at once. So it's like, break up the small tasks. That's something that's really helped me along my journey in life. Something with right now, my goals, I really try to focus on one goal to get to the next one. I never really try to, jump from step 1 to step 4 to step 5, right? That's not how life works. Life works in, little bits and small pieces, right? So unless, you handed things and given things, which a lot of times, 99% of the time, a lot of us aren't, we got to work for everything we have and everything we want in life, right? Especially as men, in order to, go past that and really understand the value and, the terminology of really succeeding and getting through your goals and actually achieving them, you have to take baby steps, fellas. That's very important to, focus on one goal, break it up in half, and then focus on the next. That's going to save you the headache. That's going to save you from, procrastination at the same time, right? From, laying stuff off, putting stuff to the side and never really get into it. I know a lot of times where, I've been in situations where I'm like, oh, I'll get to it tomorrow or the next day, but then I never do, right? Because it's like I have 4 or 5 different things I'm thinking about, and it's like, where do I start? So, in order to get out of that mindset, you have to focus on that one main one, right? So that's very important. So next one we can talk about is holding yourself accountable, right? A lot of us, we don't want to hold ourselves accountable when, that due date passes of, when we're supposed to get things done, or when we're supposed to, it's like we know we're supposed to do that thing yesterday, but we didn't. We know we was going to work on our purpose, but we didn't. We know we were supposed to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym, you know what I'm saying? But we didn't, because you don't want it bad enough, G. You have to want it bad enough. If you don't want it bad enough, you're never going to succeed in it. But holding yourself accountable, it's okay to miss, 1 day or 2 days, but you got to also hold yourself accountable, right? So I'm not saying it's okay to just like let it go, but you got to understand and get on yourself. Be like, man, I can't be missing that many days. That's holding yourself accountable. That's what's going to really build the man that you want to be in life. Once I started holding myself accountable, things started changing for me, right? So if I'm missing a excessive amount of days in the gym, I'm like, man, I got to do better. If I'm, waking up too late, because I feel like my routine is usually I wake up at 4 or 5:30 in the a.m. and then I head to the gym. But if I'm, going past that limit and I feel like my schedule and routine is kind of messing up with that, and I'm not really staying on top of my stuff, I'm not staying on top of that routine, there's an issue there, right? So it's very important that if I'm not holding myself accountable, like, okay, I got to do better, I got to get back on my routine and my schedule, that's holding myself accountable to get back on track. Because if I'm not doing that, then I start to put the gym off later and later. And then what happens usually with us, we never end up going. I usually do, because I love that grind personally. So, I'm not going to miss. I usually take off two days, maybe 1 or 2 days, usually throughout the week, let my muscles recover and stuff. But I still be active. So that means I still do some type of, cardio, low intensity, so I don't lose as much mass, right? So that's very important, fellas. Not putting stuff off to the side so you can hold yourself accountable is going to change the game of procrastination for you. So next one we talk about is setting deadlines. A lot of us, we don't want to set deadlines on our things, right? So hold yourself, this all falls into holding yourself accountable, but also setting deadlines and due dates. Just like, when you in school, just like when you in college, they got due dates. It's not just do whenever you want. It's due that essay is due a certain day, certain time. It might be midnight. It might be on a Monday or a Friday. You never really know. On a weekend, Sunday night, you never really know. But there's always that deadline date for when that paper is supposed to be done, right? So it's the same, you gotta use the same type of terminology when it comes to your life, fellas. When it comes to getting stuff done in your goals, stop procrastinating and stop having no deadlines on them. Not having deadlines on them is what's killing you, right? So you have to have some type of deadline so you're holding yourself accountable, but then at the same time, you can understand, okay, I got this thing out the way. It's the due date for this. This is the deadline for this. Okay, time to work on the next one. And that's how you're going to, have your life set in order. Once I started to do that, a lot of things started for me to flow naturally in my life, right? My routine started to get better and better because it's like, okay, I'm focusing on my purpose at this time, this from this time, this from this time, right? So that's setting deadlines. If I'm going to the gym, let's say from 5:30 to 7, right? That's a deadline. Okay, and then from 9, let's say 8:30 to, 10, etc., that's another deadline, right? I'm holding myself accountable, but I'm also putting deadlines on it. Those are very important aspects. And a lot of guys sleep on, they're not really understanding. That's why a lot of times we end up putting stuff behind us in the back end. We end up never really getting to it. So next one we got, stop thinking negative, right? I don't even like to speak negativity out of my mouth because I understand I have the mental capacity to get things done. I understand my work ethic is like through the roof, right? So it's like, if you know your work ethic is through the roof, why are you speaking negative, my G? Why are you speaking negative to yourself? Because I notice the more I speak negative, the less I start to doubt myself. And then that causes us to procrastinate, right? So the less we speak negative, the more we speak positive, and the more, that I'm not saying you got to rush things, right? Everything comes at our own time and our own pace, and when God wants us to come, right? But at the same time, do not speak negative to yourself, because if you got the ambition and the drive to get it done, what's the point of the negativity for, my G? Like, you're gonna get it done eventually. You're gonna, get that crib you want or that nice car that you want. You're going to get it to it eventually because you have the work ethic behind it. You're going to get the physique that you want because you have the work ethic behind it that a lot of men don't have. So what is the point of speaking negative if you're going to get there one day? It ain't no point. So, when you speaking, having these negative thoughts in your head, a lot of us, we tend to not understand and think that doesn't affect us, but it really does affect you in the end, right? Because you start to think, man, can I really do this? Can I really do that? Right? So that's very important. If you don't have that mentality of, okay, I'm not going to speak negative into the existence because, that's real. If you have that type of mentality, you'll always get things done. So last but not least, we got get most important steps out of the way, right? So for me, it's fitness. Working out nowadays, to me, it's just like, I just do it for, my mental health, obviously to keep a solid, good physique, but I don't really have, I'm not really trying to be like 1%, 5% body fat. I'm not trying to be on a bodybuilder. I just want, solid physique, to where it represents my brand and it represents, my fitness coaching platform and all that. And I can, really show y'all this is what it's like. The confidence when you have, the physique that you want, you have everything in life that you are starting to get in, your life that you want. And the confidence starts to go through the roof, right? So that's what really I get done with first, because that's like the most important thing to me is, the fitness part. So, and it's something I might not always want to get up at, 4 a.m., 4:30 a.m., 5 a.m. and go work out, right? Some days. But, I understand that it's the most important thing throughout the day. So I like to get it done first, right? And then the next thing is, purpose. So I like to work on my purpose. So it's like, these are all things that you got to get done first, the most important things. So then later on in the day, you not to relax too much, but you have some time to, recuperate yourself and, really go after what else you need to get after throughout the day. So that's something that's helped me along this journey. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. It's your boy, Coach Kai. We out.